Gather round, heroes, and join me for an in-depth look into the secrets of Demeo. In this series, we completely spoil the climax of each book, the boss battles, by neutralizing their superpowers and exploiting their weaknesses. You might have noticed these videos are getting longer as the boss battles get more complicated, so for this one I'm teaming up with I'm a Rainbow, who has an essential video on what you need to know for this battle. I encourage you to start with this video. The link is in the comments.
You pledge your undying loyalty to me.
Before we get into the final boss of Demeo, I'm going to go over his backup singers, the Royal Servants. He summons these spectral hands pretty regularly, and you'll need to balance damage output and avoiding incoming damage. Nothing new, right? Only this time attacks are coming from all around you in the 6x6 grid that is the battlefield. Fortunately, they project their moves and give you time to avoid them. Your top priority should be avoiding damage from the Royal Servants, whether that's moving away, redirecting their attacks, or going adamant. Getting them to smash the king or other enemies is fun, whether by accident or design. Their hearts aren't into it, though, and they do 4 points less damage, 3 to 5 points, but if it's charmed, it takes full damage, 7 or 9 points. Destroying the Royal Servants is difficult, not just because of the high hit points, but because of the high damage that they cause around themselves and the continuous relocating. They are not bosses, however, so major attack cards like Hunter's Mark, Coin Flip, and Consuming Vortex will kill them. Other high damage attacks are probably best left for the king.
Am I crazy? Or is your hand really small?
If you do kill a Royal Servant, it's only temporary. Drop them below half hit points and they will diminish, where their only action will be to heal themselves 3 hit points per turn until they are ready to attack again. That's 8 turns spent recovering from 1 hit point. Every additional 3 damage you deal them keeps them out of the fight for an additional turn. Killing them outright causes more to be summoned when the boss goes berserk, so you might want to keep those strong attack cards for other baddies, especially Consuming Vortex, which can only be played when they are already incapacitated. Although the Royal Servants are immobile and cannot be shifted with knockback, vortex, or the like, they can still be banished. It doesn't matter where they end up, they simply lose their next attack. They still heal themselves and reposition. Plan for the future by laying down other targets. Anything that enemies will attack will also draw the attention of the Royal Servants. Call Companion works, but Veroshka might end up following you. The Behemoth and Healing Ward are good, but the range is low, so it's hard to place them well. Think about dropping them early on, like on turn 1 when you're far from the middle of the arena. Lure has better range and hit points, but it doesn't become a high priority target like you would expect. Detect enemies is best, and you can put it anywhere, guaranteed to bamboozle a Royal Servant for 1 turn, though you might have to wait a while. Once the king goes berserk, the maximum number of Royal Servants will increase to 4, and they get some new moves. Royal Heal provides healing for the king up to 4 hit points. Royal Reinforcement snags a monster from the gallery and places it on the game board. It does not move on the turn it appears, but it does have full hit points, unlike those which come out of the rifts. These are very good targets for Coin Flip, Consuming Vortex, and anything that imparts a status effect. Rama's Reckoning is extremely valuable at this point. It hits every enemy on the board, but it doesn't damage Avner Barim on his throne or the monsters in the gallery. It will knock out Royal Servants, doing damage equal to 2/3 of their hit points plus 1 to 4, and remove them from the fight for about 3 turns. The king takes 15 damage, and all other monsters on the board take 5 damage. This isn't considered a direct attack, so there is a chance that any vortex dust gained this way will be lost.
Rid am Rad, O soul! Do not talk to me of dragon fire. I know its wrath and ruin.
Cool. My town, which means monster town.
So you are the heroes I've heard about.
Well, that was easy. Reaching him isn't much more difficult. It's just a matter of knowing where and when he's going to descend from his throne. We'll go over the turn-by-turn events in the playthrough. Twice during this battle, Avner will cause debris to appear, separating each cell with a 4 hit point barrier. In combination with the Royal Servants, this can make for a deadly trap. You'll want to make holes in those barriers by ending your turn where the debris would normally appear. That's not going to be sufficient all the time, so make sure player 1 is doing at least 4 damage so they can smash their way through debris and then escape before the hands can flatten them. Actually, it's pretty important that everybody is doing 4 damage or has some way of getting out of trouble. Grappling hook is pretty good to help a friend, and sometimes hitting them with vortex dust means 1 point of damage instead of 7 from the Royal Servant. Guiding lights and elementals will break 1 wall per turn to get to the POIs and enemies respectively, but they're only somewhat useful, making escape routes. You'll notice that striking a wall takes no roll, doesn't expose the stealthed assassin, and yields a lot of mana, 7.5% in a 4-player game. When you hit a 3-piece wall, you're actually hitting all 3 segments and yielding mana for 3 attacks. So make sure you're hitting those long debris walls whenever it's convenient, even if you're not strong enough to remove them. The Mad Elven King is pretty much immune to every status effect, even petrification. Theoretically, he's vulnerable to poison, but between the frequent healing he receives and becoming invulnerable when he's sitting on the throne, it doesn't count for much. The Bard has his basic attacks for the King, so his time is best spent looking out for the rest of the team, confusing incoming mobs, and helping downed heroes. Maybe drop some hurricanes to help out. Get the Guardian tanking where she can do the most good. Even without an Adamant potion, she can go toe-to-toe with the Mad Elven King if necessary. The Hunter can be versatile, depending on the situation and the card she holds, or just by applying damage where it's needed. The Assassin usually has no trouble delivering backstabs. If the King does arrive with his back against the wall, you'll need to say goodbye to that +2 damage, unless he moves. And that's okay, 2 points of damage isn't a deal breaker. The Warlock's Astral Strike is great, since you don't need to worry about friendlies in the area. Use Feral Charge to attack and move at the same time to get her to safety and place her somewhere where she'll attract the Royal Servants next turn. The Sorcerer's Fireball is good, just more dangerous. Barrier of Fury is an option, but it's only going to strip 40% of his maximum hit points. To increase your chances, you'll want one more thing: other players who can attack him while he's in his stone prison with a Heaven's Fury or a Pitfighter's Leap, potions for extra damage, or just smack him around for a bit before the wall goes up. And as usual, Uruk does excellent damage with Varga.
No more suffering.
He's an angry elf. Look at you!
The Mad Elven King's superpower is his control over the battlefield. His actual attacks really aren't that hard to withstand. Courage Chanty and Songs of Recovery and Resilience are difficult to use due to all of the running for your life, but if you're really into buffing other players, you should be able to keep it up. Just make sure you're not player 1 and have already drank a 3-pack of Swiftness potions. Fortunately, those are easy to get in this book. Magic Shield can allow a hero to survive a Berserk boss attack, or a Royal Servant attack, probably not both. Adamant Potion is still king of survival. I hear most people say to save them for when he goes Berserk, but if the party has a few of these, I like to use one on the first time he descends to keep him busy and maybe attract some Royal Servants and monsters.
Save me, Rakan!
He can choose 2 of the following actions each turn, whether Berserk or not. If he has the channeling status, he will immediately fire the Grand Rupture, and nothing short of death will stop it. It'll cause everything except monsters in the line of sight to take 9 damage. Even hurricanes and guiding lights are destroyed when he's Berserk. Yeah, you heard that right. So I guess we learned that they have 10 hit points. Usually you can avoid the Grand Rupture with a single move action, and the danger zone is clearly indicated on the map. So this grand attack lets you take 3 actions against him safely. If he's close to death, or you can lump the damage, you might just use all 4 actions to attack him. The Sorcerer can also obstruct it with Magic Barrier. Since the magic wall obstructs line of sight, it also limits this attack. If he can't attack, Move and teleport lets him position himself somewhere where he can follow up with an attack. Move and King's Bash does 6 damage and sends you flying a half dozen spaces away. He can do this twice in one turn. Rift Beam is just like Piercing Throw, doing 6 damage. So don't line up with your teammates to let him hit multiple targets. And do position yourself so that he hits his own troops. Regal Burst is just like Astral Strike, but only 5 projectiles over a 3x3 area doing 1 damage each. Astral Barrier sometimes works, and sometimes it redirects Rift Beam and Regal Burst to hit another player or friendly target, which sucks. Lure is in the same boat, expect it to be ignored half the time. Channeling takes up his entire turn. If you can't kill him on the following turn, you should consider a hit and run to stay safe. If he's on the throne, he doesn't attack and instead heals 5 hit points, twice per turn. Overall, the Sorcerer does the best against the Mad Elven King, with impressive offense and defense, especially when you get a few drinks into him and those Vortex Dusts start doing 4 damage. The Hunter is very competent in this battle, and has great abilities to use against the Royal Servants. The Warlock is versatile, with every card having a use in this fight, and as usual, Klepto can help everyone to make a difference.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Now this isn't just a playthrough. The King is very predictable, which can be a weakness, and each turn will have its own set of challenges, so let's cover them one turn at a time. Turn 1 is a freebie. You only need to deal with the regular monsters on the board, and I like to use this time to get to the middle of the arena. Spreading out a little is a good idea. Make sure that you're standing where the debris walls will appear.
My armor has been time for my blade to fly.
I always like some surprise ice elemental insurance.
An astral barrier.
Avnor Barim welcomes the party from his throne.
I will be Gilmera's true master. So bow down to me and praise
He's a little condescending. We did just send his sugar daddy Rakarn packing.
I can't be stopped.
He summons our first 2 Royal Servants. Debris walls appear to separate each cell, and the Royal Servants deploy to reveal their intended action for the next turn. This is the only turn where walls appear and don't get knocked down by the hands, so it's especially important to make those holes in the wall with your bodies.
I want to dance to that song with my body.
Turn 2 lets you deal with monsters in the area while getting out of the way of the Royal Servants. Kai smacks some debris to build up mana. The Vortex lamps are a concern. Kai should have moved further in. It should be fine though. It's just a couple points of damage.
I'll rain death on you. Die, you monster! Lighting my lantern. Steel. Gotcha. Come, Kana. Unleash your wrath. Strike. Okay.
The Royal Servants recover up to 3 hit points, attack with push or pound, and then reposition. The concern here is unseen monsters. They can knock down walls as part of a move action, so it's very easy for them to jump up right in your face.
Now we dance.
Turn 3 is similar to turn 2. The royal servants aren't being particularly threatening, so we take the time to earn some mana by clearing up the debris. This is a good time to prepare for the Mad Elven King to show up. Stealth, overcharge, whatever you need.
Let's begin. All right, time to move.
On monster move, Avnor Barim descends from his throne to the game board. It's always within 3 spaces of the center point, and we get lucky and his back isn't blocked by a wall. Royal servants recover, act, and reposition.
Let's go.
Turn 4, you'll be dealing with the royal servants and the Mad Elven King. Hopefully you've had enough time to get rid of the monsters creeping around, but they do tend to pop up unannounced. We use hit-and-run tactics to damage him while moving to safety.
Let's begin.
Use any vortex dust you have left for a free attack on the king. If you manage to get him below 60%, this stage of the fight will end and he will return to the throne.
Come, Kana. Unleash your wrath.
Oh, can it hurt? How dare you?
Come now!
The king starts channeling, which is a common opening move for him. Royal servants recover, act, and position. We get a new batch of monsters, including a dreaded ice elemental. Turn 5 and beyond continues this way, and you can take your time with hit and run, or you can wait for your moment to strike with all you've got. It is not the time to be brave when the fists are pounding on the king, or when the king is channeling.
Save me, Raka!
Sting and scratch.
We could have kept the ice elemental from using freeze by sending someone up there to attack. Okay, we sent Arlie. But never rely on Arlie, he's an idiot.
The monsters are drawn to
The boss fires the Grand Rupture and hits nothing but air, because there's no one in line of sight. This also makes him waste his second attack looking for us, so we made him waste 2 turns without damaging us. This goes on until he drops below 60% hit points. Since a royal servant does this for us, he's just going to leave at the end of the turn, so we get another turn attacking him without fear of reprisal. We only need worry about the monsters and the hands.
A sweet kiss.
Let's call this turn X, the turn that the king goes berserk.
Save me, Rakan!
We have a lot of freedom here to just pound him. The hands aren't a concern. That ice elemental is, and we do try to finish him off.
And... This will cause some ache.
The only attack the king could perform now is the Grand Rupture, if he had the channeling status. Then he would summon 2 more royal servants and return to his throne. Since he is not channeling, he returns to his throne and then summons 2 more royal servants. He's invulnerable there, so poison status and even Ralma's Reckoning will not damage him. You also can't mess with the throne, it's not a legal part of the game board. He'll start replacing fallen royal servants at this point, 1 per turn, which attack on the following turn. So if you destroyed the first 2, you should have 3 now. The royal servants recover, act, and reposition. One of them gets a free royal reinforcement, which brings down a major monster from the gallery onto the game board, and from this point on, 1 hand will always perform this action each turn until the gallery is empty. On the turn after he goes berserk, now it's just about keeping safe.
I thought I'd lost you about there!
You know me, Dad. I'm too busy just staying alive.
We do hit-and-run attacks on the royal servants or other monsters with our free turns, and this is a good time to prepare things like stealth overcharge, etc.
My armor is whole. Ready.
Nobody wants to attack the ice elemental. This would have been a good time for panic powder, charm, banish, anything that could neutralize it safely. Abner heals 5 hit points. More debris walls appear to separate each cell, and Abner heals again. That pounding fist didn't hit the ice elemental, which we were banking on. We should have detonated it ourselves. Even sacrificing Kana here would have been worth it. The ice elemental is poisoned with 1 hit point left. And therein lies the lesson. If it weren't for Aelin being out of reach, this would have been game over. She gets to safety as best she can. If a hero is downed and frozen, there's no point in picking them up immediately, just to be killed again. Bonus points for the Bard here, since Song of Recovery can turn all of this into a bad memory. One of the hands gives a god-awful noise and switches to healing. From this point on, Royal Heal is one of the actions the Royal Servants will perform. Avnor Barim descends from his throne, as before, 2 turns after he went berserk. There goes Awana and Kai. And there goes Sigrun and Kana. At least they're next to a healing fountain. But if Aelina's taken out, that's it for the whole party.
You don't have to be sorry. It wasn't your fault.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
We luck out, and the troll doesn't use his normal attack, which would kill Alien. It's time to throw everything we have into finishing this fight, now that the king has exposed himself again.
A punishment for old sins.
Ralma's Reckoning takes out the royal hands.
Slash you.
That's one less thing for us to worry about. Kai can't make it over the bodies of his fallen comrades to the healing fountain, so he just attacks. Finally, he gets to use some of those cards. Sigrun heals everyone, and Oana has to attack without Kana.
Ready to slay. As they hone in, just accept your adamant potion. Who'll stop me now?
So close. Avnor fires up channeling once more, which means this is another turn that he's not going to damage any of us. At this point in the game, he's basically laying down. But Aileen has one more trick for him.
They have a cave troll.
You have the spirit plane behind you.
That was a nice ending. That'll make an epic tale to tell of the Scabby Rat, with a few adjustments, of course. Thanks for checking out another masterclass. If you're not dominating these adventures with grace and efficiency by now, I'll take that as a personal failing. Just kidding, these things take time. I'm over level 600 by now, and I'm still learning things. Just keep at it. This has been my Why. I'll see you in Hell Mar.